Hi everyone, in this lecture we are going to continue discussing the conditional statements and making decisions. So today we'll be talking about how to use switch statements. Switch statements, as I mentioned last week, it's an alternative to the if statements. Okay, so let's see how it works, and then we can talk about when to use it and um, when to make a decision whether to use if statement or switch statement. So I'm gonna switch to Visual Studio. Let's have an example of, um, let's say I want to perform arithmetic operation, and I want the user to pick whatever operation they want to perform, like addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. So first, I'm gonna ask the question. I'm gonna prompt the user to enter their option. So usually switch statement is very convenient if you have options, if the user is expected to pick one of the options, and then based on the option, the program will execute a specific block of statements. So for example, here you can put enter your operation. That means what is the operation you want to perform? Enter your operation. So we need a variable to hold that. So let's say I want to use operation 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 for addition, 2 for subtraction, 3 for multiplication, and then 4 for division. So I'm going to use op. Okay, so that's going to be my variable. And then I'm going to save that value, CIN O. And then I'm going to use the switch statement. So this is how it works. So you put switch, make sure it's lowercase, and then you open the parentheses and you put the variable that you want to test, in this case op, inside the parentheses. And then you're going to have cases like case 1. That means if the user enters number 1 as an operation, then it means addition. Okay, then we are going to add two numbers. Okay, so let's get the two numbers first. So after you get the operation, I may have, now it's better to put it on top. Why? Because you don't want to keep repeating, just asking the questions for every operation. Just ask these two, because you're going to need this two numbers regardless which operation you're going to perform. So that's why I'm going to put here, enter the first number. Enter the first number. And then of course I need to save it. So I need the operation, and then I need num1 and num2. So I'm going to save num1 or CIN num1. And I'm just going to copy this and then paste it. So we're going to do the same thing, but with num2. So I'm going to copy this and then paste it here. So enter the second number, and then it should be num2. So if the operation is 1, case 1, then I'm going to calculate that. I'm going to put, let's say, CL. The sum of the numbers is, and then I'm going to add them up, num1 plus num2. Okay, so that's it. If the user, I'm sorry, here it's not IU money, it should be IO3. That's why it's underlined. Okay, so this is case 1. Now, what about case 2? So I'm just going to copy this because it's the same thing. So I'm going to copy this and then change it to case 2. That means if the user enters 2 as an answer, then that means he or she wants to perform subtraction. So I'm going to put the difference of the numbers is num1 minus num2. And I'm going to continue case 3. So case 3, that means if the user responds with 3, then we're talking about the product. That means multiplication. But the numbers is num1 multiplied. So we're going to use the asterisk for multiplication. And then finally, case 4. So case 4 is kind of tricky situation because we are doing division. Now what happens if the division is invalid? Like if the user enter the second number as 0. Now we're going to have a problem. So we may have to put an if statement here. So we have to exclude the case of num2 equals to 0. So we're going to put here if num2 equals to 0, then we're going to put a statement that cout invalid entry. Okay, invalid entry. Else, as you can see here, we can use if else if statement inside the switch statement. So, and then if it is, let me make sure they are aligned. If it is not, if num2, now there's no restriction for num1. Num1 could be anything, but num2, since it's the denominator, it has to be different than 0. So I'm going to put if num2 is not 0, then you can calculate, you can say the quotient is, and then you divide num1 divide by num2. Now here you need to be careful because if you divide an integer by integer, you get only the integer part of the number. So if I divide 5 by 2, you may think I might get 2.5, but the computer will give you only 2. That means only the integer part. So avoid that problem. You may have to convert one of them to double. So I'm going to convert num1. So one of them, either the numerator or denominator has to be double for the division to be a complete, accurate division, not integer division. Okay, so now we are done with this. Now, what happens if the user enters something else? Like it's not 1, it's not 2, it's not 3, it's not 4. So we're going to use something called default. That means anything other than 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's called default. So we're going to put here if it is, if they enter other than this, you can say, for example, please choose a number between 1 and 4. So we can kind of give them direction to enter the right value. Okay, so this is done. We're going to have some little things to fix, but let's see what happened when I ran the program. So I'm going to run the program. So of course, it's going to ask me enter your operation. That's the first thing. Enter your operation. Now let's say I'm going to choose number 2. So what is 2? Is the subtraction. So if I enter 2, then it's going to ask me for the first number. Enter the first number, let's say 20. Enter the second number, 10. So there's no restriction for subtraction, division, subtraction, addition, and multiplication. So hit the enter key. The difference of the number is 10. That's correct. And then it says the product also, it did multiply. So it gives me the answer, but it keeps going. It did not stop. Okay, so how can we fix that? Now, the thing is for the switch statement, you have to end with break. So the program will exit as soon as they execute that specific section. I'm going to put something called a break at the end of each case. Without this break, then the program will continue, does not stop. Like for example, if the user enters 2, it's going to answer 2, 3, and 4. That means everything that comes after. It's not going to do case 1 because case 1 is above. So that's why to solve that problem, we're going to use break. Now we don't have to, we can use break here. So now it's going to answer only the case that we are interested in. It's going to exit the switch state. So let's do it again. So enter the operation. So let's say 1. So enter the first number, 20, second number, 10. All right, so that makes sense. The sum of the numbers is 30. Perfect. And then it stops. It stopped and then exit the program. All right. So we still have to continue testing because what about if it did not work for the rest? So enter the operation, let's do 2. First number, 20, 10. The difference is 10. That's correct. Continue. So for the program to be robust, to be a good program, you have to test it in every single situation as much as possible so you can take into consideration all those special cases. So let's say number 3, that's for the multiplication. So we have 20, we have 10. So that's the product is 200. 20 times 10, that's correct. Now for number 4, we're going to choose 2 cases. The first case, when the numbers num2 is not 0, and then when it is 0, and let's see how the program will react. So let's do number 4. Okay, so that's division. The first number, let me choose 15, and then I'm going to choose 3. Okay, so it says the quotient is 5. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. Okay, now let's test, let's make sure that we get the decimal. What about if the number is not evenly divisible? Okay, so let's say number 4, and then let's say we have 5, and then we have 2. So 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. See, 2.5. Now imagine we don't have that double here. Let's take it off and see what happened if I don't have that. When I run the program, you're going to see that the 0.5 is missing. Only the 2 is there. So here if I put 4, and I put 5, and I put 2, look, I'm going to get only 2. Why? Because you need divide, and this is regardless which language you are using. Java, C++, or other languages, when you are dividing, it's because of the way the computer stores the information. If you are dividing integer by integer, so the computer will save it as an integer. It will assume that the answer is also an integer data type. So that's why you need to, we call this casting. We need to cast it to double. So that's why we need to make sure we put double in here. So when you divide, the program will temporarily convert num1 to double. So we are able to perform the division with the accurate answer. All right. Now what about if num2 is 0? So let's see what happened. So let's say number 4, and then in the first one, let's say 14, and then I put 0 in here. Oh, so if I don't fix the problem, if I don't put that if statement, that's going to cause a problem. That's going to cause an error. The program will not be executed. So let me hit the enter key. It says invalid entry, and the program is still fine. So that's good. Okay. Now what happens if I enter something different, totally different? Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. So if I enter, let's say 10, sometimes you want to test how robust the program is. So let's choose number 10. Actually, we have to put the case like if they enter other than 1, 2, 3, 4, they should even ask him about the first and second number, but that's fine. I'm gonna put 10, and then I'm gonna put any number, let's say 5. So since 10 is invalid, it will say please choose a number between 1 and 4. So that's good. So this is how the switch statement works. Most of the time, you have the different. You have the choice between if statement or switch. I would highly recommend that you use switch whenever you have selections, whenever you have a menu kind of program in which the user will be asked to select. Maybe like let's say you go to a bank account program and then the user has to select what they want to do. Okay, press 1 if you want to check your balance. Press 2 if you want to make a deposit. Choose number 3 if you want to withdraw and stuff like that. So anything that has a menu, I would highly recommend that you use the switch because it's very practical and it's easy to use. But this should not prevent you from using if statement. Like as you can see right here, I use a combination of switch and if statement. I put if statement inside, but there's nothing wrong with that. All right. Okay, so like always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Thank you for watching.